Hello, and welcome back to Health Mastery for Leaders. I'm just so grateful all of you are here, whether you're watching this recording live or you're going to listen to this beautiful interview afterwards. It's like in my heart that I bring Dr. Kelly, the Worth and Wealth Alchemist, and you say to myself, like, why is wealth so important? And she's going to share why an abundant mindset, bringing in wealth, is actually part of who we are and who we get to be. And then I've asked her to kind of tie that back to our worthiness and our health, because the truth is if we have wealth, we have health. And it doesn't always have to be monetary, but we all know the importance of money coming and going for us to be able to afford what we get to show up and be every single day. So let's give Dr. Kelly a warm welcome, and she's going to take it away and we can ask questions at the end. So thank you so much for being you and showing up, Dr. Kelly.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I noticed as you're introducing me, I think an ambulance or something went by, with the red sirens. And so if you're listening, I think that's a little sign, pay attention because if you're not paying attention to the wealth side of your life, it will impact your health. So, so I guess where I'll start is, many people ask me how I got into this as a worth and wealth alchemist, and what the heck is a worth and wealth alchemist. So to describe the title that of course I've created as the doctor comes from chiropractor. So I used to be a chiropractor, once a chiropractor, always a chiropractor. And so in my previous life, I helped align people's spines so that the brain could talk to the body and that the body could talk to the brain and that there was flow, right? And now what I do is I really help women particularly connect with their self-worth so that they can quantum leap their wealth. And so that's the body of work that I'm now doing, really focusing on that what I call the worthiness wound. And that worthiness wound, I think it impacts every area of our lives. So let me tell you, it would be okay if I tell a little bit of a story of how I got into it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So people know about you and where you're going. Absolutely.
So I started my journey as an entrepreneur in chiropractic and have my own practice and very wellness based. And then fast forward, my first wound that I really addressed was my worthiness wound around love. And I was able to find my soulmate and get married. And I found myself in 2015 or 2010 pregnant, really excited and pregnant. And I had a condition that was like morning sickness on steroids, something called hyperemesis. And it was not fun. It was not fun at all. And I remember my great awakening. I'm looking down the toilet bowl, having been sick probably like 10 times that day. We're several months into the journey. And I'd sent all of my patients to a colleague of mine. So I had lost my practice because I couldn't practice. And looking down that toilet bowl and on the back, it actually said church. So I was in church. Yeah. And the great awakening was that my heart wanted to impact more people.
Yeah.
And no matter how many times I could get my hands on people in a given day in my chiropractic practice, I knew I wanted to share more. And there was this thing called the internet. And I thought, wow, what would it look like if I could use the leverage of the internet to really impact more people? So that was the beginnings of the journey around wealth and worth and impact. And so that's kind of like how I got started. And then fast forward, after launching an online business, I found myself $130,000 in debt. I was a coach working with women with herpes. And, I was ready to quit and go back to chiropractic. And my coach challenged me on a fall afternoon. She said, I dare you to double your rates. And I felt nauseous. I'm like, double my rates? Oh my gosh, who's going to ever pay that? And that truly was the year that I tripled my business and I became the CEO. that
Yeah.
I never thought was possible. So that's a little bit about my journey and the relationship to worth as it relates to love, but also money, because I took that $50,000 a year that was coming in and turned it into 150,000 in a year. And the
Mhm.
journey was the energetics of who I became in the journey.
Yeah, and I love this conversation for those of you that are listening because, you know, God made this world abundant, or whatever your spiritual being is. For me, you all know that that's where I come from. And whoever your spiritual being is, when you show up in abundance and you show up, and I know you've all heard this because it's kind of like so out there now because we do have the internet space of showing up as your true authentic self and not blocking and doing that work.
Yeah.
Like abundance is everywhere and it wants to show up in your life and it just wants to be there for you. But if we block and we doubt and we kind of throw up that like energetic sort of armor, then
Yeah.
it can't show up. So if you can speak a little bit into that, because I think that's like huge around, because it's the same thing with health, right? If we
Yep.
block and we say we can't heal.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That mindset piece. It's like this dance of the mindset, but also the energetics.
Yeah.
So whether you're talking about, healing any kind of condition, I mean, research shows, that anything and everything that anyone has ever had on the planet has been healed at some point in time, right? So there is nothing that can't be, quote, cured. Now, there's many, many ways that you can cure. But mindset is huge and energetics is huge, and what your belief system is. And I do believe that people repel money and love, like all the things that we want. And we often will repel it. Why? Because we don't feel worthy. And one of the best ways I think to access that worthiness is to start with gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The gratitude for the health that you do have. Like there are things that even the beating of the heart, your heart is beating, like, okay, right? Like what a gift from God, right? I also refer to spirit as God. And the bank account, right? Start with the gratitude of what is in there. I was speaking to a woman the other day, she literally has $5. She had $5 in her bank account. And so it would be really easy to go to scarcity of the not enough and focus on, I only have $5.
Yeah.
And yet there's somebody on the planet that has $0.
Yeah. So true.
So I think that gratitude for what is present right here and what can I be grateful for begins to open up the lens of what's possible, so that we go from the possibility to the probability, but as it doesn't start from a place of scarcity, the place of I'm not enough, I don't have the right practitioner, I don't have the right doctor, I didn't come from money, like all the things that are that live in that place of scarcity.
Yeah.
So as you said, abundance is here, and it's here right here, right now.
Exactly. And it's always going to be there for us when we show up for ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Could you talk a little bit about how you teach people to kind of like step into that empowerment, step into that abundance, and, kind of with that journey?
Yeah. So one of the things that I use, I use a blueprint online called the Human Design Chart, and you can get a free download online. But it's kind of like going to you and just getting a blood report, and you're like, hey, your calcium's high or your sodium's high, and it does, like all the values don't really make a whole lot of sense. You really need somebody that's going to interpret that, to give meaning to that. So that is one of the foundational tools that I use, because it actually, you can read this chart. It's based on 4 ancient traditions. It's based on the Kabbalah, the I Ching, the energy systems, and then also astrology. And so we're able to look at this blueprint of how you're designed to be successful. And that includes money and love and all the things, right? What wealth really means. And so that's one of the things that I do, is I do Human Design Chart readings for prosperity. Another thing that I do is really help women to clear the money blocks.
Yeah.
Right. Very somatically based. So for example, if you think of money and abundance, if you can just close your eyes and tune in, like, where does it not feel peaceful?
Yeah.
And so I have a process called the Queen's Peace and Prosperity process, where we tune in, because all of those memories of scarcity live in the body.
Yeah.
Right. And so whether that's, locked in the body and it's causing a lack of money, it could also be leading to a health condition, like what you would help somebody with, right? It's all energy.
Yes.
So that first step is the awareness of tuning in and being able to identify, where does it feel tight, or where does it feel, disconnected, or so very body-based.
Right. Restricted.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that willingness, even just to bring breath, and to accept it. Here's the other thing. We live in a culture where it's the fix it model. Like, oh, I'll just cut it out, or I'll just remove it, or, like disconnect from it. And so from where I come from, which is very holistic, is coming from a place of, can we just be with what is?
Yeah.
Which is huge. It creates a huge opening. Like the woman that I was talking to the other day, like, okay, you have $5 in your bank account.
Yeah.
Can we just be with that in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
Not make it wrong, not judge it. And so it's I come from this very holistic spiritual place of, it's all divine and perfect, and it's there to teach us.
Yeah.
So can we be with the emotion? And then I would say another thing that I do is, really look at the stories, right? And your stories have gotten you to this place. Your history has gotten you, or her story has gotten you to this place. But to get clear on, like, well, where do you want to go? Because the storyline has to shift.
Yeah.
And so we do a process called the autobiography of a queen, where we actually rewrite the story, and a woman decides, okay, a year from now, this is the health that I want. Actually, I'll tell you, I broke down worthiness in 5 pillars.
Oh, right? Nice.
So these are the 5 pillars. These are the areas you want to keep a constant kind of just awareness around. So W is for wealth, which is more the money pillar. O is for oneness, your connection with God or spirit or nature. R is for relationship. T is for time management, and H is for your health. So wealth for me is all of those 5 pillars running optimally. So if you don't have your health and you have all the money in the world, are you going to be fulfilled?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably not. Right. And so that willingness to decide, okay, a year from now, what do you want? What do you want to create? And then reverse engineer that. And I bring women through a process called the worthiness triad, where we actually design you, the woman.
Yeah.
So those are some ways, some of the many things that I do.
So I love what Kelly was, when Dr. Kelly was talking about, if we step back a little bit, and she was talking about the worthiness and the energy and the healing. One of the things that many patients do, and I'm sure you can relate to this when you did chiropractic, when you were balancing out the structure of the body, many people will, like, our subconscious is built 0 to 7, right? So sometimes we have to go all the way back, like she's talking about. But I will find in patients in their even 40s, 50s, and 60s, they're still blocking energy in their cells from healing. And they're having that doubt that they can't heal because they felt awful for so long. So just like Dr. Kelly's talking about money and wealth and rebuilding that kind of the 5 pillars, and one of the 5 pillars is health, but getting on board and telling yourself every day you have the ability to heal. You have the ability to stand up for who you are and the truth of who you are. And like, you can heal just because you have a chronic disease, but it often will take steps to get there, but that's okay. It's like a journey. And one of the things that she mentioned is instant gratification. We want it right away because our healthcare system and our wealth care system has been taught that it's not easy, or you just take a pill for an ill and you're taken care of. And it's the same thing. You go out and you get like this part-time job that doesn't fulfill your vision, or a full-time job, and it doesn't bring in what you want because you drag yourself out of bed every day to show up and do your work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're speaking the same language. Yeah. Everything's energy.
Yeah.
Right. And I say I'm a stand for this: scarcity is an illusion. The I'm not enoughness, I'll never have enough health or wealth or all the things. And so, yeah. And it's not like a, overnight. I believe that as we're talking to health and the women that are listening, that health piece is so important, because I have had times where I was making great money and my health was starting to slide, right? So it's not an either or, it's a this and that. And what are some of those beliefs? And I totally agree with you. Like some of the stuff goes back to the womb, and that's really hard, can be really hard for people. But if everything's energy, and we came from energy and then we embodied in this lifetime, we're like sponges. And you did say up until the age of, I think you said 7. I know up until the age of 7, we're just sponges and we have no filters. So if you're brought up in a lot of toxicity, toxic thoughts, toxic parents, toxic, all the even physical toxins, we just take it all in. And so sometimes some of that rewiring, it takes us back.
Yeah, and it's so great. Like when she's talking about taking back, like I remember when my dad said to me, like, it has to be hard to do well. Because that was the messaging he got growing up on a farm and having to work hard, because being a farmer and farming for your whole entire family, like they did in order to feed their family, and walking 4 miles to school, it was hard on the body.
It was
But
hard.
then it got easier, like, because we can reach more people now with our voices. Like you said, that the internet is amazing, but we also want to be careful how we're taking that information in and who we're listening to, because that can stop us as well. And I find that, for example, on a little bit of a tangent, when people are looking for the perfect diet diet is the perfect nutrition plan that works for you. The perfect wealth plan is the one that works for you.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you want to speak to that, but it's like that messaging when we were younger, we heard it over and over and we sponged it in and we took it in. So for me, I had to unpack that life had to be hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think the genesis a lot of this challenge is that we put our power outside of ourselves, right? And we're conditioned to do so. And this is through the media and everything like that I need something outside of me to get what I want, right? And I'm going to have to work really hard to get it. And if I'm not working really hard, then I'm not, doing it right. So it is that we live in a culture that it's very patriarchal, whether we're talking about the economy or health or whatever, but it's like the pill is going to fix you, or it's the next guru is going to fix you, or, whatever it is, we're marketed that it's outside of us. And I'm here to say it's actually to call your power back. All the answers are from within. And are you willing to get still? To be an inquiry of like, and it doesn't mean that we don't partner with fantastic leaders in health and wealth and relationships and time management. It's not that, but when we're willing to be still. And it's one thing that I'm so grateful that COVID did for us globally is the world stopped. And people were required to be with their thoughts and to be still. It was like a required, okay, now what are you going to do when the construct of the external world stops? And so that willingness to really call your power back, because you all have the power, you all have the intuition to be guided to what is right for you, because there is not one diet fits all. There is no wealth plan that fits all. And so it is truly an internal journey. We're going and exploring new galaxies, right? And new planets, and it's all external. And I think that's beautiful. But what about the greatest exploration of all, which is the internal? Right?
Yeah, so good, because like you said, I love that, because so many patients are looking for the messages outside instead of, we know when you get quiet and you go into your gut instinct, right? And that whole brain gut connection, and you quiet your mind and you breathe deeply and you just connect to your being. Like messages come out, like all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, kind of when the ambulance went by, oh, that's a message. Like, I don't really want to be sick. I don't want to be in that ambulance, but how do we not be in that ambulance? We show up, and like Dr. Kelly said, we find individuals that can help guide us, because we don't know everything. But we do have so much information inside of us.
Absolutely. And so it's the huge shift of going outside to get things versus going inside and magnetizing the law of attraction, magnetizing that which you seek. Because you do have the ability to do that. And I think we have so much untapped potential in terms of that intuition and guidance that will lead you to just all you need is a baby step. That's all you really need. So many people are looking for the next big thing.
Yeah.
And it's the little step. I mean, when I look back in my life of the big changes that happened, it was somebody introduced me to somebody, or, I mean, it was quite simple, and we make it complicated, and we're marketed to make it complicated because we feel like it's, it can't be easy. And yes, it can. It can be easy, and it can be simple, and it can be flowing, and actually it can be fun too.
Yeah, totally. And I always say, like, wealth and health can, it can be done with laughter and connection.
Absolutely.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And I love that, like, somebody connected you, and then that took you to your next journey. And it's like, how did Dr. Kelly and I get connected? I don't know why. I started reading something, and I'm like, I want her to speak to my audience, right? Because there's a resonation, because I had a gut feeling, and then we end up, we're both on the East Coast. Like, you just never know. So if you just show up and really be yourself, but stop those blocks, and self-empowerment is never ending. I don't know if you can speak to that, but so many people are like, oh, I'm better now, next. And it's like, no, it's like, always we get to look inside and keep going up, because I never stop changing.
Yeah. Change is the only thing you can be certain of. It's the only thing, right? And I think that, to speak of that quick fix, it doesn't exist, right? Like the overnight successes, they don't exist, right? You don't see all the things that led up to that moment in time. And it's also how and why I start every morning in meditation and inquiry. And it's a reset. Because we have so much coming at us, and we need to reset and actually give the brain a break to access higher levels of consciousness, right? And it takes time. Like, my meditation practice has been decades now, right? And I've gotten big insights and downloads along the way, but it's a training. And so if you really want fulfillment in all areas of your life, it's that willingness to pause. It's that willingness to work with someone in the journey. And there isn't an overnight success. It just, while we would like to see it happens, it's kind of like, I can share with you recently, like last August, I think of like all the quote work I've done, right? And this woman was doing this healing. And she did this healing and this light activation for me. And I never received this particular thing. And within 48 hours, I had an $86,000 day.
Wow.
And I share that not to impress you.
Right.
I share that to impress upon you. That was the moment of breakthrough, but it didn't happen in the moment. It happened with all the things that led up to that. But the brain wants to attach, that healing, that one healing made all the difference. And it's just, I would say that would be the lie, but it's that, and so breakthroughs and magic happen, but there has to be the right container and environment, that nourishing like if we're talking about a seed, it's the water, it's the sun, it's the fertilizer, it's the environment, it's the nature versus nurture. Yeah, the seed was there and it had potential, but that potential doesn't grow to its optimal potential without nourishment. So that $86,000 day, did it happen because of the one healing? One could say yes. I would say no. What I would say was like all the events that led up to that moment of magic.
Yeah, every day. I love this, because every day you're somebody new. You're not the same person that you were yesterday. Something happened yesterday that tweaked you today. And that's what Dr. Kelly is saying. And that's what we all teach. Like, you're not going to wake up today and be the same person that you were yesterday after a full day. You learned something new came to you. Maybe you felt better. Maybe you met somebody that shared something with you and you had an aha moment. So I love that, because all the steps opened her up to receive. How many of us are afraid to receive? We're so easy as females to give. However, when you create birth, you receive the sperm from a male, and then you go into, you're conceived, and then you start the whole process of growing that baby.
Exactly. I'm so glad you brought up receivership. I speak a lot about it. I speak about a lack pattern that most people have, or not most people have. Let me reframe that. The women that I'm here to serve are women that are really good at giving. And it's natural for them. And they give, but guess what? They're not so good at doing. And it's the receiving. And to be able to give, one has to receive, right? And so a lot of the work that I do is helping women to remember their worthiness to receive. And it's very feminine. And my mentor said recently, to remind me, she says, stop the doing and the doing gets done.
Yes.
Right. And so, but that's not what our culture reinforces. The culture reinforces, well, you're not working hard enough, that there's not enough time, right? Like, who are you to receive that? And so practicing that receiving, and one of the little tricks that I share is practice receiving compliments, practice receiving gifts, practice, just being with yourself. And it's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift.
Speaking of gift and being, I just dropped in the chat. Dr. Kelly has been so grateful to gift us. And I just want you to share a little bit about that before we kind of like close up and see if there's any questions.
Yeah.
Because she's just like, we are all givers, but you get to receive this gift from her.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So this is my Money Date Workbook. And the title of this talk was, the art of treating money like a lover. And while that sounds crazy, right? Like, what would happen if you treated money like a lover? You would pay attention to it. You'd want to spend time with it. You would date it. You would boom, and so really, I know that, money is definitely, the receiving of money is very feminine. But money also, in the masculine, money loves structure. And it needs structure and accountability, and it needs a job. You need to give your money a job, like employ your money. So I created the Money Date Workbook actually for myself. It started out because of it's, and for the women that I'm here to serve. And what it is, it's a workbook, and it's going to marry that. Okay, what is some of the money in your accounts? But also, what is your relationship? How do you feel about your expenses? Or how do you feel, what do you notice in your body when you look at your assets? I had a woman that I was working with the other day, and when she looked at her assets, most people were like, many people are going to be excited. Wow, look, I made this much money. But it was demoralizing for her. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I only have that much. Right? And so it's like, you can look at the same number and have two totally different responses. So to get curious, what is your response? What are your emotions? What comes up? Because if you're just doing this and not paying attention, I know that you're not growing in financially and emotionally as it relates to money. So I want you to learn how to have a conscious relationship with money, date it like a lover, fall in love. It won't make you happy, but you know what? It will create a new relationship so that you can receive more and you can enjoy the process. So if you go to this link, queenofworth.com/money date, it'll give you the workbook. And I encourage women to do it weekly, and then build up to do it quarterly, and then do it yearly. And so it's a progression.
So grateful. And where can, I'm sure people can find you once I go on that link, but where's your favorite place to hang out, as we say? That's kind of like odd, but like,
I know, right?
Get in touch with you. Like, is there something I can put in the comment for them to connect with you? Or do you just want them to go there and then they'll find your information?
Yeah, so that's probably the best, one of the best places if you want to explore treating money like a lover and rising in money and abundance. But I'm at Dr. Kelly Shu on all the social channels, and Shu is spelled SUHUH. My one of my favorite places to hang is actually LinkedIn, because my specialty really is, at least right now, female entrepreneurs that want next level wealth without having to work so hard and to get in energetic alignment. So I post on like all the platforms pretty much, but that's probably where I'm most active. I do a prosperity happy hour first and third Tuesdays of the month. So we have it going on today at 4 p.m. And if you go to LinkedIn at Dr. Kelly Shu, you can learn about that free community gathering that we're having. And yeah, we'll do some training, we'll do some networking, we'll lean into the sisterhood. And yeah, I would love to connect and help you in your journey.
Awesome. So I posted all of that, and I just can't say thank you enough for like sharing with our audience. And please, all of you that are feeling like if you have a block around money or worthiness or stepping into who you are, the truth is that we as females are meant to be financially abundant. And that's what God put us on this earth for. It's not only for males and for the men that are watching that are doing really well, it's also for you to keep opening up as well. So we all get to open up and receive because the world is abundant. And I just want to thank you so much for popping on and sharing your heart and like just showing up for who you are and just guiding people on this journey, because it's so needed.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I do believe when people are wealthy, and especially I find it really, women who are wealthy are the first to give back. And so we need people who are very conscious, men and women, that are conscious in relationship to money, so that we can actually create a different planet, a different, next level. So it's really needed. It's a new world. It's a new world.
It is a new world. So thank you everyone for showing up for another day of Health Mastery for Leaders. Again, we just want to thank, take a moment and just be so grateful, send energy, whether you're again watching this as a replay or on live now. And we just want to thank Dr. Kelly, and we will see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another amazing speaker. You guys all be well and keep receiving and showing up as your true authentic self on your wealth journey. Thank you, Dr. Kelly, and I'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you so much.